Welcome to the Infinite Podcast. My name is Carlos Andres Ruiz, and this is week 2 of our spiritual performance series. And in this series, we're diving into a piece of scripture that is Jesus talking, and we're just breaking down the words, the message, the story that he is telling in this. And so we're going to dive right into it. And it's John 15:5, and it says, "Yes, I am the vine. You are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will produce much fruit. For apart from me, you can do nothing." We talked last time about how Jesus is less concerned about the metaphor and he is more centered on the message that's within the words that he was saying, and he would adjust to whoever was in front of him, whether it was a fisherman or gardener, whether it was a carpenter, whatever, a farmer, whatever it would be that was in front of him, he would adjust the language. And we decided that maybe in this era, in this moment, Jesus would use a little bit of a different approach. He would use something that we are constantly on, and in my opinion, he would probably use the technology that we are constantly on. And so we rephrased this verse, and the way that we ran with it in the last podcast was, I am the outlet, you are the iPhone. If you stay plugged into me, you'll stay charged and produce results that others can see and benefit from. But apart from me, you have no power at all. Today, I just want to dive into one particular phrase that I think this is the phrase that makes Jesus so effective. And the phrase is at the very beginning when it says, I am. And we hear in the Bible when God is speaking to Moses, he tells him that I am the I am. And I think that it's just fascinating that Jesus decides to start with I am. And he could have started with what we are. He could have started with what God is. He could have started with so many different parts of the metaphor, but he started with the phrase I am. My father, not too long ago, got me a new cell phone. And I had dropped my previous one and it just kept turning off. So I went to Dad and I was like, hey, Dad, my phone is not working. And him being a dad just figured out a way to get me one at a very, very cheap cost. But it was actually one of the newest phones. It was one of the latest iPhones. And I was excited to use it until I got into my car. And I was trying to charge the phone. But when I got into the car, the adapter that my old phone had no longer worked for this new phone. And man, does Apple piss me off with every so often. They're changing this charger that's on the phone. And so now I can't charge my phone when I'm driving. And so I bought this other adapter that would adapt my phone to the car. And then that adapter broke my car's charging adapter. And so now no phone works on my car. And now I can't even put my GPS on the screen. I just have to use my phone and put it down and make sure that I'm looking at the phone. But the reason I share that is because iPhones have developed in so many different ways. And I think it's similar to us humans that you may still be a human, or you may still be a smartphone, you may still be an iPhone, but it really demands of knowing what version you are. And when I know what I am, I know that this charger doesn't work with this new iPhone. And so if I know that I am the iPhone 17, the iPhone 10's charger does no longer work. And I wonder how often the reason that we are having a difficult time charging or functioning is because we haven't taken the time to think about who I am. And one of the biggest distractions when we think about who I am or who we are is what we do. And so often we confuse who we are with what it is that we do. And so today I just want to leave with you one question that perhaps can help us identify where it is that we see ourselves when we are asked the question, who am I? Because if we don't know who we are, we're not going to be able to charge ourselves from the material from which we were supposed to adapt from. And so I wonder, in the moments in which we mistaken what we do with who we are, if we lost everything that we do, would we still know who we are? I really love the beginning of the Bible. I love the book of Genesis. And if you want to know what anything is that was created, going to whatever created it will actually give you the fullness of how to use it or how it was built. And so I go to Genesis to see, whenever I forget who I am, I go to Genesis to understand, what did my Creator say that I am? And in Genesis 1:26, it says that we were created in His likeness and in His image. And then right after that, he says that we were given full authority over all of earth. And for me, if there's one thing that perhaps is true to all of us, is that we are all given authority, and the word authority feels so intimidating, and so often athletes come to me with lack of confidence, but I feel that what they actually lack is awareness of their authority. And it's the moments that you forget that you were given so much authority to write the storyline, not just of earth, but of your life, that we let things from outside of us write the story. And if you look at the word authority, that the first word inside of that word is the word author. And I'm convinced that what we are, what God wants us to be, is just authors. And authors not just of the world outside of us, but authors of our story, and co-write the story that God designs us to write. Sometimes I want to wake up at a certain time and go for a run, but then it's raining, and then it's cold. And sometimes it's both. And it's up to me to determine whether I will still be the author of that morning, or if the rain or the cold or both will be that which becomes the author of my day. And if we do it often enough, if we give up our authority often enough, we get to situations in which we no longer know who is the writer, and therefore we believe that the definition of who I am is what I do, and it is then my career, or it is my role as a husband or as a brother or as a son, and being able to know that if I lost all of those, what does God still say that I am? And that I still have God's trust to write a compelling story. If you lost everything that you do today, if you lost your career, if you lost relationships, if you lost hobbies, if you lost your job, would you also lose your value? I remember I had a friend in college who called me once, and he said that, hey, I no longer want to be a professional soccer player. I have one more season, and at the end of the season, something happened in my life that has shifted what I want the outcome of this season to be. And I was shocked, because ever since I knew him, he was pursuing becoming a professional soccer player. He had such unique skill, and for me it was, there's no way that you're not going to go pro. But the reality was that the stats and the way that the seasons kept turning out, it just wasn't in his favor or in the trajectory for him to become professional. And so I wasn't sure if he had just given up, but in this call, he said to me, hey, I found out that I'm going to be a father, and because I'm going to be a father, I want to give up on this dream, and this last season that I'm going to play, I'm just going to play to enjoy my time with you guys. I'm going to play because I love the team, because I love the university that trusted me, the university that invested in me, and it was a great run trying to become a professional, but now it's more important for me to get ready to become a father. And then you fast forward 7 months later after the season, and he got drafted. He had the best season that he had ever played in, whether it's college or club or academy, whatever it was that he had been part of. This was the peak. And I began to realize that there is a relationship between what makes your identity and your ability to perform at the highest level. And it was the moment that his identity shifted from being a professional soccer player is no longer what defines me, and he elevated his identity to something else. he performed at a level in which his dream actually became a reality. And so I wonder if so often in our life, in our careers, we are so consumed by that one thing that we want to get to, that it becomes bigger than us. And it's when we find an identity that's higher than that which we think means the most to us, that we actually reach things that we have longed for our entire life. When you wake up in the morning, who do you feel that you are? I often work with athletes, and I know that when they wake up in the morning, they see themselves as basketball players, as soccer players. I often wake up in the morning and I feel as I am a husband, or I am a teacher, or I am a coach, or I am a brother. And it's not that we don't embrace those and we're not aware of those, but there's something higher, something more powerful that has been designed inside of you, that has been placed inside of you, that's connected to who you are. You are not what you do, but it is on you to figure out who you are. And I'm convinced that Jesus' effectiveness was connected to his ability to have so much clarity in who he was. And so maybe this week, in the morning or before you go to sleep, just write the phrase, I am, and let all that which you are come out. Maybe it's on a notebook, maybe it's on notes in your cell phone, and just let it all come out. Because when you look at all of those, you'll realize how much texture you have, and then you'll begin to realize that there are overlapping themes inside of that whether you're a coach, whether you're a friend, whether you are a son, whether you are a husband, whether you are an athlete, there are intrinsic principles that lie inside of you, that no matter who you wake up to be, you crave love, and you crave peace, and you crave kindness, and you crave being forgiven, and you crave to forgive others, and you crave faithfulness for yourself and in relationships, and you crave goodness. And the moment that we're able to see that all of these characters of who I am actually crave something deeper, then we actually begin to realize that I am the reflection of God. I am created in the likeness of God. And then when you go back to have authority in your everyday, you're going to write a more compelling story, because it's no longer dictated by your title or your career, but your essence. I am. It's one of my favorite phrases that Jesus uses often. I hope this was helpful, and I hope that this week you can reflect a little bit on who you are and separate it a little bit from what you do. We're so excited to continue these Bible studies. This was week 2. If you feel that this was helpful, I would love to hear your thoughts. Maybe comment, like, share, subscribe, follow us on TikTok, follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. Let us know what you think. Let us know who you are. Let us know what you were able to unveil in this moment in which you are able to identify that what I do is not who I am. All right, guys, we'll see you next week.